Go for it.
Okay.
Frankenberry.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. So you guys have been digging around for 8 hours now, right?
Yep.
That's about right.
Excellent work.
So welcome to our chat stream. I have to admit I'm a little bit starstruck. You may write my favorite comic book of the day at the moment. It's so good. Let's begin.
What does he write, Matt?
Hawkeye, the current Hawkeye, which I am just agog over. But
the now officially banned by Apple sex criminals.
Yes,
very exciting.
I heard about that.
It's a thrill.
What's this?
I read a comedy called Sex Criminals, and you can't buy it on Comixology for iOS. You can still buy it through iBooks, and you can buy it on the Comixology website, and then put it on an iOS device. But if you want to read it on your iPad or your iPhone, you can't do it through. We've been banned. Apple decided we're too naughty.
Is it because it was called Sex Criminals?
Well, that and all the sex, I suppose.
All the criminal sex.
All the boobs and butts and boners, I suppose. But it's a comedy about a girl who when she makes whoopee freezes time, and she can move around, but the whole world is sort of frozen around her. And this kind of makes like sex an alienating and strange experience for her. And one day she's at a party, she meets a guy, and they hook up the way girls and guys sometimes do. And after they make whoopee, she prepares for a kind of lonely jog in frozen time, but discovers that he is there with her, and he has the same ability. And through a series of contrived events, they decide to do what any of us would do, which is rob banks.
Nice.
So, but it's a comedy, and it's a dirty comedy, and it's a very sex positive, I hope, and very. I hope it's funny. I don't know. People seem to like it, and then except Apple. Apple's decided it is too hot.
So now that you've gotten us real interested in it, remind us where we can go to find it.
Well, you can get it at imagecomics.com, DRM free in the digital format of your choice. You can find it at a local comic shop, like at a real physical comic shop if you're into like the whole physicality thing. Or you can buy it from the comixology.com website, and then it'll sync to your iOS device, or if you have a Droid, it's not a problem. So, but yeah, Sex Criminals, and yeah, it's a thrill to be banned.
So now that we've introduced you via Sex Criminals, could we get you to introduce yourself and your body of work to anyone in our chat or watching our stream at the moment who might not already know who you are?
Sure. Hi, my name is Matt Fraction, and I write comic books mostly. I write Sex Criminals and Satellite Sam at Image Comics, and I'm writing Hawkeye at the moment at Marvel, and I just finished writing Fantastic Four and FF for a little while. I'm about to start a new book called Inhuman about those wacky Inhumans, and that'll be from Marvel Comics. In the past, I've written Thor and Iron Man and the Uncanny X-Men, and lots of stuff. And I'm losing my voice. I apologize. I'm going to England in like a day, so things are particularly hectic in my life right now. So of course I've lost my voice, and my car is just broken down. My wife is texting me that she's stranded at a gas station. So
if you need to go, that's cool.
It's a pretty baller Saturday.
But seriously, if you need to go, that's cool. We'll be here.
Give me 1 second. Hang on. I'm gonna do one thing.
Okay. We're very close to for our viewers. We're very close to getting our first point. It'll probably happen at some point during this call.
Yep.
So that's fun.
And
your first what? I'm sorry.
The first point in this terrible game.
Oh.
It takes about 8 hours to do so.
Right. I thought you said your first coin, and I was like, is this like an elaborate Bitcoin mining operation?
There it is!
Yay! Got it. Nice.
I do want overtime.
You've now seen one of the most exciting things that happens in this game.
Man. Why didn't we think to mine bitcoins?
I'm sorry.
Next
I'm back. Hi.
Perfect. So we have a number of questions for you from our blog and our chat.
great.
The people who are watching, they'd like to ask some things of you. So I'd like to start off with a question from one of our viewers, Rick Cole, otherwise known as Fenrir. And he asks, well, first off, he says he loves your and David Age's work on Hawkeye. His question is, what's been the highlight for you so far working on Hawkeye? And then he asks, and who would win in a friendly throwdown between the Hawkeye Initiative and the Carol Corps?
Oh, the Carol Corps, no doubt. Because the Hawkeye Initiative, we're all beaten up. We all wear Band-Aids, and we're all tired. That's our gag. Whereas the Carol Corps are all like ready to go pound somebody's ass. I can show you. Let me show you what the highlight is. Give me a second. The highlight fell down behind my desk last night. Hang on one second.
I like that chair in the background.
That's a
Oh yeah,
sweet chair.
that background chair
With
is
the
sweet.
spotlight on it.
Yeah, I'm a big hit at Passover. Passover jokes. All right. So this is emblematic of what is actually my favorite part of writing Hawkeye. This is a boomerang arrow that somebody made me and brought to give me at a comic convention, and it is the tip of an iceberg of kindness I have crashed into writing this book. The outpouring and response from readers. And this is so cheesy, and it's so cheeseball, and I'm sorry, I should say something, fucking hipster and cynical or whatever, but the response from people who read this book is so over the moon and so insanely friendly and kind. The cosplay is unbelievable. The art, just the Hawkeye Initiative itself has been unbelievable. That we seem to be writing a comic book for a fandom that is extraordinarily creative and supremely demonstrative and fearless in showing what they care about. And that's been the life-saving in a lot of ways. So somebody made me this boomerang arrow, and it's one of my favorite things in the world. People make me somebody brought me donuts. I've got cross stitches and paintings and drawings and a zillion photographs of cosplayers, and people go out and try to make Kate's outfits according to how David designs them, and now we start to get the girls in the crazy circus outfits, and yeah, man, I tell you, it's kind of, I think, the comic book writer equivalent of doing a power ballad and seeing a sea of Zippo lighters out front. It's I didn't know that it could be like this. So you that's the answer. You are my favorite part of writing Hawkeye. Yeah.
All right. The next question we've got is from Fizzin, and he just asks.
That is a fake fucking name.
And he asks, "Do you own any ukuleles? And if so, how many?"
I have one ukulele that I bought in Hawaii. Then I have one. There's just one ukulele. It is a part of a cognitive therapy. I should be playing musical instruments. Apparently, it's good for you when you have my kind of problems.
James asks, are there any particular films or novels that had an influence on the tone of Hawkeye?
Yeah, lots. The Long Goodbye, Robert Altman film, is Robert Altman's Philip Marlowe movie. Elliot Gould is Philip Marlowe, which sounds like a weird choice. Sorry, Liz. It's this sort of almost beatnik Philip Marlowe's movie. It's really fantastic. If you've ever seen it, Long Goodbye, you can see it on Netflix and stuff like that. The Rockford Files, the show, was supremely influential. And the work has been kind of peppered with references to the Rockford Files. Those are kind of our two bases. And in the book, there's sort of two Hawkeyes. There's Clint Barton, who's kind of been Hawkeye since the 60s. Not in Marvel time, but in our Earth human time. And his sort of protege, I guess, friend, protege, I guess, kind of works. named Kate, and she's a youngish girl, and they've kind of broken up. And she's gone to California, and I'm taking this as an opportunity to write. So we're going to alternate. We do Clint issues and Kate issues, and the Kate issues I'm just taking as an opportunity to write like fanfic, basically Rockford Files fanfic, and I change all the names. Like I find and replace Rockford with Hawkeye. But you know, there's all of my California private eye love kind of is coming out in the Kate issues starting I think in a couple of weeks. So Rockford and long goodbye.
Cool. A more different James from our chat asks, how did you come by the last name of Fraction? And he also asks, is it your birth name or did you change it to Fraction?
Well, my last name is Fritchman, Fritchman. And one night, like 100 years ago, a telemarketer called and asked to speak to Matt Fraction. I was like, or is this Matt Fraction? I thought, oh, yes, it is. Just sounds like the best fake James Bond villain name in the world. And it became, like, I would just use it as, like, my web handle, you know, on forums or whatever. It was just sort of my username. I would always be Matt Fraction. And when I started to write comics, the connections I had made were sort of through comic forums and stuff like that. And I figured it was kind of the only marketing hook I had, people who knew me from those places under that name. And I was never planning on this actually being my career. It was just kind of something I did for fun. And little did I know. So as Kurt Vonnegut says, be careful who you pretend to be, because in the end, that is we are who we pretend to be. But the bank, it's the bank. Nobody flinches at the bank. I think everybody just figures that someone has profoundly screwed up, like my last name. They see it, or like at hotels, I have to show my ID. I'm like, oh, wow, they really got that wrong. So it's hilarious.
Jess asks, where did the idea for Sex Criminals come from?
You know, I wish I could remember like what the catalyst moment was. But part of it is just wanting to work with Chip Zdarsky, the artist on the book, and my partner there. He is one of the funniest human beings I've ever met, and a supremely talented artist. So part of it was just Chip and I were trying to find a project to do together, and he has kind of a style where it doesn't necessarily make sense to like do a Batman comic with Chip. It's sort of not what I would want to see just as a reader out of Chip. So, it wasn't kind of a typical, whatever the project was, it was going to be different, quote unquote. And I love romantic comedies and I love sex comedies, like as a genre. Romantic comedies is a better word. I love sex comedies. Romantic comedies are usually pretty terrible, but like, I love dirty jokes and movies about that kind of, that sort of live in that world, whether it's like Billy Wilder movies or the sort of new like post-Apatow kind of world of sex comedies that we live in. It's all kind of my jam. And I'd never really seen one the way I wanted to do it in comics. I'd never seen a sex comedy for comics the way I thought it could be done. And just Chip had threatened me that we should do like a really bad Game of Thrones. And I wrote back like, no, what if we did a sex comedy about this? I don't know where it came from or why it happened, but it's just sort of all these little things were sort of floating around in my head, and then it just sort of formed the shape of Sex Criminals. And I suspect they're, something about the visual medium of comics and what it can let you do, and how you could do a sex comedy in a comic book and not just have it feel like a screenplay that got drawn, So
I'm just trying to pull a couple more questions out of our blog here for you. Let's see here. Oh, absolutely.
So,
fire away.
I hope this isn't a question you've had to answer too many times, and it's not meant to be aggressive. I'm curious. I had a conversation with a guy that I work for the other day who is not into sort of geek comics and that kind of world, and he was very thoughtlessly critical of comics are kind of dumb and for kids, and I was like, no man, that's not true. What would your response be as someone who creates that kind of content to try and change someone's just totally uninformed, not malicious, but ignorant opinion on that kind of thing?
Well, first off, do you have like a taser or a pepper spray? I would, I say quite honestly, you know, it's changed a lot since we were kids. And there's sort of been generations of people who grew up with comics that kind of let comics grow up with them. And the world's different now. And you should check it out because there's all kinds of stuff that would surprise you, especially if you think it's just kind of bam, sock, pow. And, you know, I'd kind of find out what some favorite movies were, favorite books were, and kind of try and maybe if I wanted to really kind of evangelize and convert somebody, I'd maybe go out and buy them a book or two based on what I thought they'd like, based on like their favorite stuff in the world, and sort of give it to them and just at their leisure kind of still let them explore, let them see if they dug it, you know? I tend to think you catch a lot more flies with honey than with pepper spray and tasers.
The tasers are fun. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. They have the light is. That chair looks really dramatic. It's like someone's going to sit there, right?
Uh-huh.
Get a better setup in here. It's great. It's like there's going to be a cameo back there.
All right, so
Ladies and gentlemen, Vincent Price.
I wish.
one thing we've got going on this year is a $7 challenge, and we are asking each of our guests to come up with something. And for each guest caller or individual that does, we get a $7 donation from one of our viewers. And the challenge this year is actually something you might be pretty good at. We are looking for you to come up with a superhero name and a power for that superhero. The hero that you would be, or just a ridiculous superhero?
Just a hero that you want to make up.
Okay.
You get to create your own superhero. It can be anything.
I have to. I'm in the middle of like inventing a million new ones in this new book that I'm doing. Give me a second to come up with one suitably. I don't want to rip myself off.
Explain, Matt.
Yes.
Sorry, the Matt that is here. Tell the Matt that we're talking to about James's.
Yeah. What are some of the other ones?
All right, so we've got one so far, and that is James, our driver, is here. His is the Highwayman, and the Highwayman is capable of creating an overpass from where he is to wherever he needs to be at will. So if he's stuck in traffic, he can just create an overpass, and it just directly allows him to drive where he needs to get to.
So it's sort of like the most massively inconvenient power of flight.
Yeah.
Because it's all the get of flight, yet all of the hassle of massive civic construction.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's very powerful without being so broken that you could rule the world.
Yeah. And it's incredibly specific.
Yeah.
It really is. So one of the things about Iceman that freaked me out was like those ice bridges have to go somewhere. They're gonna fall. And some kid's gonna lose an eye on an icicle.
Call me after the show. We could work this out.
Yeah, gosh. Let's see. I wish more than anything that the Penn and Teller game actually existed. I wish that there were prototypes that had made it out into the world, and that kind of got me thinking about like all the little glimpses of almost were kind of things that never happened, like books that should have gotten written or movies that almost got made, or there were alien action figure prototypes made that were never put into production, or the Boba Fett with the firing missile backpack and all that kind of stuff. Maybe what would you call that? Or there'd be a guy we called like the Variant, and he could pluck from parallel dimensions stuff that should have gotten made but didn't for one reason or the other, be it video games or books that should have been written, paintings that should have been done, movies that could have been made.
That's super cool.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
James, that totally beats yours.
Shut up! Leave me alone.
I like that a lot.
All right. Sorry, I'm just making note of that so that we ensure that we have a record of it.
There is actually after a couple years ago, after Desert Bus, after the thing a couple years ago, some fans did make a port of Desert Bus for iOS and Android that is playable. Which is pretty amazing.
Playable.
Yeah.
At least you
Playable.
got some time to kill.
I think I still have them.
Oh, actually, one other thing I wanted to ask. I don't know if you were watching before we went live with your call, but we were telling a story, and I want to know if you remember about this. Do you remember when James here failed to introduce you correctly at Woodstock in Portland?
Is that why he screamed?
No, that was something else.
All
But
right. No, I came in at the scream.
that's because they stole my
I
hat.
took his pirate hat.
Yeah.
That was me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, earlier we were telling the story of how I completely flubbed introducing you.
I was so nervous. I don't remember anything, and I was nervous, and my daughter was like 20 minutes old.
Oh,
So
wow.
all I remember from that was like extraordinary nervousness, and then literally the second I finished, being like, I have to go home. I have to make sure the baby's okay. So you're good. You totally got away with it.
Sweet.
All right. Before we wrap up, I've got one last question from you. This one's actually from a friend of mine, and I know she wouldn't forgive me if I didn't ask it because she's a big fan. And that's, what is your favorite comic book to read your kids, or what will you use to introduce them to the medium?
You know, my son was already making his own. We've been reading them for a long time. When I was writing Fantastic Four, I got to read him the old Stan and Jack FF. We'd sort of sit with them at night, and that was a lot of fun. Having like my son kind of falling in love with Jack Kirby and the Fantastic Four, kind of my daughter going around screaming it's clobbering time was pretty great. And we read Bone. That was really cool. That was the first that's a long book, that's a big honking story. And that really kept them engaged. Over the summer, we kind of chipped away at Bone. Gosh, either Fantastic Four or Bone, I'd have to say so far have been like the most pleasurable. We had finished Bone and went to Australia, and we're playing on a beach, on an island, because it's Australia, it's what you do. And my son, on the shoreline, like with his feet, drew Bone like with his footprints, and then like did the logo from memory. And it was like I looked down and suddenly there was like this. I was like, "Oh, look, Dad!" It was great. Like it really stuck with him. Now he makes his own. He says he draws the boxes and this whole thing. So yeah, we'll see. We'll go with Bone.
Cool.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Great. Well, thank you very much for calling in, chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm sorry I sound like garbage.
You sound fine.
You sound amazing. The chat loves your voice.
Sexy man.
Hi, ladies.
We love you, Matt, for action.
Alrighty. Well, we'll let you go, and yeah.
Oh, yeah, go-
Feel free to go
Go
rescue
save
your
your
wife
wife.
now.
Yeah.
Jesus. And thank you very much again for calling in.
Thanks, and good luck. You guys stay hydrated, right?
Yes.
Don't,
Yep.
don't overdo the energy drinks. Stay hydrated. Stay sane.
No,
Good
that
luck.
we can't
We,
promise the
that's,
second one.
we don't do that one.
We didn't
Hydrated.
start out that way.
We can do hydrated, and that's about it.
We make more money when we're insane.
Right. It's all fun and games until Well, I have to keep it clean. Never mind. Good luck, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, man.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.